same energy.
Hey, 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 good evening, everyone. Welcome to Boss Conversations with Janeah. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Today, I have a great guest, one of my sisters, and she's doing some pretty big things. I'm going to let her tell us everything that she's doing. You guys know we're over here having conversations that matter, and this is a good one because this queen has a lot of knowledge and she is just such a light. So, you guys, without any further ado, we are going to bring on Miss Taralyn Michelle. Hey,
Hey,
love.
sis.
How are you?
I am fantastic. You know what? That
Ooh,
intro is hot. I was
come
like,
on.
hey.
Come on. That sister has light and life. So, hey, hey, hey. How you feeling today?
I am feeling phenomenal. I'm on Boss Conversations. Are you kidding
Come
me?
on.
I'm
Yes,
feeling phenomenal.
yes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and thank you for having me on your show. So you guys, I was on her show like a month ago, a month and a half
Yeah.
ago. At the time going by so fast, I don't even know. But it was such a pleasure being on your show, but I won't say too much about it because we haven't talked about all the bossnicity ways you got, you know what I'm saying, yet. So you ready to get rolling?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it, Queen. Okay, so go ahead and introduce yourself. Give us those boss titles and let us know the name of your business, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I am Taralyn Michelle. I am the CEO of Divine Design Media, LLC. And Divine Design Media is all about creating content that touches the hearts of others and helps to create a spiritual mindset from which we can scale upon. So, underneath Divine Design Media, LLC, I have the Grind Define, my syndicated podcast, in which Janeah dropped some crazy gems on when she was there. I am also a best selling author. I am a professional ghostwriter. I work with a couple different publishing companies, and I am a certified spiritual mindset and wellness coach. And so, within my business, it's all about helping people to navigate different areas of their life, be it mindset through coaching or also in supporting people and telling their stories as a professional ghostwriter as well.
Woo-hoo! Y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? Sisters official. Oh my gosh, there's so much to dig into.
Yeah.
Professional ghostwriter. So let's start with the professional ghostwriter
Okay.
because that is something that I haven't talked to any other bosses that are doing that. And it's also something that people don't really know a lot about, you know. So could you tell us what does a professional ghostwriter do? Like what is your job as that title?
Well, some people, there are two different areas that folks tend to fall into. There are people who are writers and who can tell their story, but maybe they don't have the time, or maybe they don't have the flexibility, or sometimes they may have some pieces missing where they want somebody to kind of observe their story from the outside, help to fill it in. Then there are other people who want to tell a story. They're not writers, they don't know where to begin or how to do it, and they're looking for somebody to help to pull that story out of them, to make all of those different things that are floating around in their mind, to define a scope for it so that they can share it with people. So me as a ghostwriter, whether you're somebody who's already a professional writer and you're doing your thing, or you're someone who just wants to tell a story and you don't know how to begin, my job is to fill in those gaps for you and help to get that story out of the crevices of your mind out there for people to be able to read.
Come on, Queen. Okay. Wow. So how long have you been doing that?
You know, ghostwriting is so funny because I've literally been writing since before I knew how to read. If you could believe that.
Wow.
I was 2 years old when my mother bought me a typewriter because, you know, she was really hands-on with us, and my game with with the phonics was sound. I was very phonetically sound. So, I would take and I would sound out words. And so she got me a typewriter and showed me how to type these letters to my favorite cousin. When you read these letters, everything was misspelled, but you could read them perfectly. So literally, it was. She's a scrapbooker, so she still has them, right? And so I started off writing so young and storytelling and poetry and things like that. By the time I got in high school and college, I used to sing, And I didn't know that it was a gift to be able to sing and write your own songs. Well, once I started recording music, I'd be around the studio and people would read my songs. There were people who could sing, but they couldn't write, or people who could rhyme, but they couldn't write. And so I used to sell a lot of my work just to make some pennies because I was broke. So that's how I began ghostwriting. So it was something that I was doing before I knew that it had a name. And then fast forward to starting my business. Well, actually, I was an author before I started my business. So writing my books, and then people coming and saying, wow, I wish I could write a book. And I tell them, hey, it's nothing to it. You definitely can. And so it just started off with me showing people how I did it, to people saying, well, why don't you just do it for me? And I was like, yeah, why don't I? What's the difference in writing songs, ghost writing songs, and then writing books? And so to answer your question, I've been doing it ever since I can remember. And it's just something that became natural for me. So then when I started working with publishing companies and them getting my manuscripts, and they were so clean, the editors didn't have a lot of work to do. And so the way that I formatted and thought, and them saying, well, hey, I have a project. Would you mind helping me with this project with this other client? And so I just kind of segued into working with publishing companies, from publishing my own or having publishing companies publish my works. It was just God's divine design, is what I think it is.
Man, okay. It's amazing when I have bosses on and I hear how things just fell into their lap, but it is always things that they're using a gift that God gave them to execute. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
and we never know. And one of the things I love about hearing millionaires and billionaires stories is all of the failures that they have gone to get to where they are at. There's not one that I know of that one thing came along and then they became a millionaire. And
Mm-mm.
so when you have all those different failures, all those different things you do, it's when you tap into the one that's connected to your purpose, the one that God gifted you to give to do this one.
Come on.
That's when it's going to happen. And so, that's why we tell people all the time, and so many bosses that say, just do it, just get up and do whatever it is you're thinking. Because if that is the thing that God ordained for you,
Yeah,
come on, baby. Like, you better get up and do it. Y'all better get up and do it because you
absolutely.
never know.
And
That is
you
dope.
right, you never know until you make that move. And then to think of it, even in having this conversation, I remember running into people throughout the years who had their different talents. Like, for example, my cousin, she's always been a natural seamstress. She was cutting out patterns by hand. She could look at something in a magazine, cut out the pattern, and make it. And when we were in high
Mm,
school, she used to make all of these elaborate gowns. She was making wedding dresses when she was in high school. She used to do prom for different people. And I remember seeing different people and saying, man, I wish I had a talent like that. I didn't see my ability to be able to write and tell stories, but even deeper than that, because I know a lot of phenomenal writers and storytellers. One of the things that I really thank God for with my gift is not only my ability to be able to connect, let's say to you, to help get your story out of your head. When I'm writing for someone, the level of empathy that God put within me, I can become that person, so much so that if their mother, brother, husband reads that book and they didn't tell them they had a ghostwriter, they think they wrote it. I can transform what they give me and do it with their words, with their feeling. And so looking now, understanding that that is a part of, that's an anointing, that's my gift. To think at one point, I didn't think that had any value because I didn't see how immediately then I could make money from it right now. So for me, value had all to do with being able to quantify dollars. It had nothing to do with an anointing. It had nothing to do with wisdom. It had nothing to do with that skill set that only God can give you. You know what I'm saying? And
right,
so then
right,
being able to look back now and say, man, I always had so much substance and value, but because I was looking to affix an external worldly sense of value to it, I was running around blind all these years thinking I didn't have anything to offer, And so that's the crazy part, missing those things about ourselves, the things that I missed about myself. And then to now be living in it is crazy. It's a blessing.
Definitely a blessing because the journey has so many lessons, you know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it's a dope blessing. And you guys just think, okay, we're sitting here and she mentioned she was an author. She didn't even mention that hat when she described herself, but I do want to pull that out and say, yes, she is an author. What's the title of your book, Queen, or
Uh,
books?
yes, my solo project is entitled The Ultimate Release, and it's Ultimate Release is definitely a labor of love. It's definitely a labor of love. That was the project that God used to tear down all of the walls that I had built, all of the defense mechanisms that I had. The Ultimate Release is just that. It's a book that's taking readers through what the journey is like to understand that you've been, when you realize you're a passenger in your life by choice, and then to decide to get out of the passenger seat and become a driver. And so that book, it just takes readers through me actually owning my role in a lot of the different things in my life that I considered failures and things that I hated. It was all me. It wasn't other people. So the ultimate release is about that. And then The Life I Love, which is a national bestseller, that's an anthology that I'm in. And that one, it's a compilation of 10 different authors. Amazing, amazing stories. That book has been an amazing ride too. So that was one that I enjoyed thoroughly, thoroughly being a part of. So yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. That sounds nice. That sounds interesting. Okay, okay. Okay, we got ghostwriting. We have she's an author and she has um
The
is it
podcast.
nationally syndicated?
Yes, yes,
National.
yes. Well, actually,
Okay,
well,
so
it's international now because I just,
right. Yeah,
the
see that's
analytics.
what I was
We just talk about
I
the
was like,
analytics.
I believe it's international, but let me
Yeah,
do yeah. So let's talk about your internationally accredited, not
syndicated,
accredited,
syndicated
syndicated.
podcast. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Internationally syndicated podcast. Let's talk about it. Y'all know I be like, I be having a little SLOD,
You
SLOW moments.
you're not the only one. Don't feel bad. But the grind to find, oh, the grind to find, that was nothing but God.
Come on. Come on.
That was not the plan. Okay, really quickly, a little bit of a backstory. Several years ago, my girlfriend got a job at a radio station, and she was a host on there. She was a personality. And so I remember when she first got hired, she calls me, it's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I was still in corporate America then, and she goes, Taralyn, I have my show tonight and I am nervous and I don't want to be by myself. So you have to call in and you have to be on the show with me. And I'm looking at the time. I'm like, Heifer, I got to get up in the morning. I can't be sitting all night with you. Oh no, you have to. You have to. So long story short, I call in. I did that for the whole first week to get her comfortable on her show. Then after that, the owner of the station, she calls me saying the owner of the station has been calling you and hasn't been able to get through. I'm like, well, who is the owner of your station and why are they calling me? Well, she
Right.
heard my voice on air and said that I like her voice and I think it would be a good fit for a show. And of course, she by that time she's familiar with the way that I communicate, yada yada yada. So long story short, she calls me. She tells me she had an idea that she wanted my opinion on it, which I didn't get because I'm like, you don't know me, I don't know you. Well, she was pitching me to see if I would host this show, be a personality for the show. I told her I didn't know anything about radio and I really didn't think it was a good fit and I didn't want to do it. Well, she talked me into agreeing to do a pilot. I did the pilot and the show ended up being really successful. So I did that for a couple years and ended up walking away from that because radio was not something that was for me. I was supporting somebody else. But during the time that I was there, I went from being a host to being a program director to producing, and it was like 15 or 16 shows on there at the time. So I was helping with writing for shows, producing shows. And so I got all of this experience working in the radio sphere with broadcasting that otherwise I wouldn't have had. Walked away from it, didn't think anything about it. Then fast forward to me publishing my book, starting my own business. And then all of a sudden, God coming in saying, okay, well, now you're going to do a podcast. And I'm like, why I'm doing that? So anyway, I ended up, the thing that's wonderful about it is when I was obedient and started the podcast, I had all of this experience that I acquired way back when that I thought was worth nothing. I was just doing
Right.
something. And then all of a sudden come here to this point in my life, start this podcast and a lot of different things that people would need, I didn't need because I already knew how to do it. I already had everything that I needed. And so now I got to show up as Taralyn with the message that God had for me and what it is that I do with my audience. And then the podcast, the whole vibe. I'm a very hip hop, urban, neo soul poet. It's got a whole situation going with it that
Yes.
I love so much because if you don't know anything about me, you listen to my podcast, you get a feel for who I am. That is me, you know? And so
Mhm.
I love how God does things. I had no idea when I was doing radio back then that that would have anything to do with the grind to find and what I do with amazing people like yourself. Because y'all, listen, Janeah's, I didn't even tell you your show, we were checking last week. Your show has been the top downloaded show for the last 3 weeks.
What?
Yes, ma'am. It's you, my top 3 is you and 2 other sisters. All sisters, because you know that's what we do. But but
What?
you
That's
guys,
what's up.
serious gems. You gotta check it out, thegrinddefined.com. I'm pretty sure you have it because you tagged me. It's on your Instagram or your pages as well. But girl, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, her show, you guys. I love it. The music selection. I really love the music selection. She's got this, like she said, like neo soul, spiritual music going on, and it is so on point. I
Thank you.
really love it. You guys got to really check her out. How has that experience been for you? What have you learned through your podcast? Because when
Mm,
you are showing up as Tara Lynn to the radio station, you
mhm.
wasn't really showing up for your own purpose. You was showing up for someone else's purpose.
Right.
So when you started your podcast, like what have you learned? What has that done for you internally since you started?
That is a very good question. I would say, the biggest thing for me with the podcast has been realizing that there's so much more power in my words than what I ever knew. I have an understanding that God has given me and a way of articulating that. I guess being a writer and all of that. The way that I'm able to not only tell stories through poetry and through my teaching, but even in interviews, the way that I'm able to connect with the people that I'm interviewing with and draw different things from them. I've learned that there's so much more purpose and power within me that I don't need to question or even be afraid of. Because I know sometimes God will say, go in this direction. Or, and some people may not think it's God. When you have that thing within you that says, do this, don't do that, I believe that's God. That is the voice of God. And so sometimes I would be afraid of that because I didn't know, it didn't make sense to me. It wasn't anything that I had on my mind. Even if I went that way, well, what do I do after that? Because I didn't even, that wasn't on my radar. And so um, being in the studio of the Grind Define, when I'm there, there are some things that I have planned, and some days God just takes over. But no matter what, that's that space where I allow myself to just be imperfectly Carolyn. I don't do a bunch of editing on things that I say, and I'm always a, well, I used to be, dot the I, cross the T type of person. Everything has to be a certain way. That show has taught me that it doesn't have to be a certain way. Just allow yourself to learn who you are just as being you. Everything doesn't have to be perfectly polished. Everything doesn't have to be completely and totally together. You don't have to have all of the answers to still talk about what you know. And being in that space and then having the opportunity to receive myself, because when I get playback and I'm able to listen to episodes and things like that, being able to sit back and receive myself and know what I had in mind is not necessarily what I put down, but it's still beautiful. I'm like, wow. So it's really helped me to loosen up a lot and just have fun and just allow things to flow, to see the beauty in my imperfection and just unapologetically move forward. It's just a learning experience. It doesn't write on who I am as a woman, who I am as a child of God. It's just an experience. And no matter what it is, good, bad, or indifferent, it's just something to learn from. Keep moving and keep building. So, oh, wait, I lost sound. I can't hear you. Did you mute?
I didn't realize it was
Oh, there we
muted. That
go.
was beautiful, Queen. I'm so glad that you found a space that allowed you to loosen up or forced you to loosen up, however it came, because honey, people out here having strokes and heart attacks left and right, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just such a true free spirited Aquarian. So, for me, I am the friend that's going to be trying to always get the uptight friends to, loosen up, girl. We only got one life to live, girl. We here
Yes.
now. Let's get it in.
Yes.
Let's just enjoy because that's really what it is. Whatever you're doing, you here now. You're there now. So you need to just make the best out of it. Make the best out of it. I'm glad you allowed yourself to just experience it because yeah, when you're like, everything got to be perfect, and I'm speaking to myself as well
Mhm.
because I had to go through that as well, then you kind of don't get to really experience it because you experience it in the latter. You experience it when you look back at it or
Yeah.
hear it again, but you was so busy in the moment thinking about everything being perfect, you weren't in the moment. And so it is good when people can learn to just, hey, we're here now, let's do it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
be in the moment. Be in
Yeah.
the moment, be in the moment because you'll never get that moment back. So just be there for the moment. I love to tell people that enjoy the moment because these moments can be taken away from you at any time. There's people out here just dropping.
Ooh,
So enjoy your moments. People,
yes,
enjoy your moments.
yes. I
What
could
kind
agree
of
more.
topics do you have on your show?
Oh man, it runs the gamut. I have 3 different elements that I do right now. I have
Okay.
mindset Monday, a Monday mindset, affirmations and mix, which is where I'll start off the episode with a short affirmation like a poem, and then it goes into straight music. The straight music, usually anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. So that's on Mondays. And then on Fridays, it's a combination of the two. I'll have a drop with an interview that I do with someone. Those topics are wide ranging. They could be, I have a young lady that's coming up that survived stage 3 cervical cancer. She's going to be talking about
Ooh,
that. Some people talking about different things within their businesses. A lot of it has to do with identity because one thing that the grind define is about, let me say this because I didn't even say that. My tagline is always define your grind and never let the grind define you. And my show is
y'all
all
hear the way
about
she said that? Go ahead,
my
sis.
show is all about having people come on who are not afraid to allow others into that space of vulnerability to talk about what it was like to build the individual so that you're able to see the successes that they bring forth in the world today. And that's important to me because I think that in this day and age with social media, there are a bunch of still shots of what looks like perfection. When people see the reality TV shows, all they see is money and excess. And to people, that's what happiness is. But what they don't understand is, like what you were saying, for every success that you see on the front end, there have been some failures. Even if people say, well, I've had failures, rarely do they tell you about not only the failure, but what that did to the spirit man or woman and what they
Come
had
on.
to do to rebuild that spirit so
Yes.
that while they're building on the front end, there's building going on the back end and inside. And that is what you see being radiated out into the external world. There's an internal environment that has to look pretty before the external environment looks pretty and it's sustainable. Some people make the outside look pretty, the inside is ugly, and they can't keep it up and it crumbles eventually. I want to talk to people who understand the value of the internal being pretty first, because that's what's going to radiate into the external world and that's going to make it sustainable. And so the grind defined is bringing stories to the forefront where people are able to share those tools because there's so many people seeking and searching. They think that it's external stuff. Really, it's the internal stuff. And people who are seen or viewed as successful being able to share those tidbits, those nuggets with the public, I think that that's where the true value comes from. So you have the interviews, and then you have independent teachings that I'll do around various different things. It could do with relationships, it could do with finances, It could deal with just purpose and trying to find your space. But everything that I talk about, I try to tie into a spiritual context, because I believe that we're spirit people and there's spiritual warfare going around in this world all around us. So I don't care
Yeah.
what we go through. I believe that it all starts with who we are on the inside. And if the inside is correct and in check, then I don't care what comes to you on the outside, you're able to handle it. So anyway, that's that's what the grind to find is about.
Man, I love it. I love it. We need all of that. All of that. Okay. So y'all make sure y'all check in. Even if you want to check in on Monday, listen to that music and just kind of like vibe out, especially if you got something to do. Like if you cleaning, typing something up or doing something, get on and listen to that music because it will have you in the whole mood. Feeling great, just vibing out. I love it. And so there is a last sector that we can, should, would, and will cover. And that is the coaching aspect, right?
Yes.
What type of coach are you again?
I'm a spiritual mindset coach.
Okay, and what does a spiritual mindset coach do?
Yes. Well, spiritual mindset coaching is all about helping people to connect to a root or foundation of where they became skewed, and show them how to, based on spiritual principles, build up that new foundation for their life. I think that the best way I could describe it is we all have our childhood stuff that we come from. I always describe it like this: by the time we get to be an adult, there were bricks that were already laid in the foundation of our thinking, the foundation of our being, that we just added to, which means that that foundation for your way of thinking and being is not all your own. You already had some bricks there and you just filled in some gaps. And now you got this foundation that you're building upon. And then that's why a lot of us will get to the 30s and the 40s, and we're just, you may have accomplished some things. You may have had some goals that you've knocked over. And if you've ever had all of these things around you that people tell you should make you feel successful, should make you feel happy, should make you feel all of these joy, peace, but you don't, that's that space in the life, in our life, where we come to and we realize, okay, wait a minute, I have everything that should make me happy, but I'm still left wanting. I still
Mm,
don't feel like I know who I am. I still don't know. I'm in this career and went to college for this, and I don't even think I like it. And I've been in it 10 years. Spiritual mindset coaching is all about helping you to stop in that space and to identify with what bricks were not yours. And then not only to just rebuild a foundation, but with a foundation, a spiritual foundation in God and who your God identity is. Because there's just identity, which is just who we are in this world, and it's usually attached to a bunch of external things. And then there's your God identity, who you are and your value in God. And a lot of people think they know who they are in God, but a lot of times they don't trust it or believe it. They like, I hear,
wow.
well, that's what was said, and I had read that, and I heard it coming up in churchianity and religious. That's a whole nother conversation. I can't stand religion. I
Yes.
don't go there. Cannot stand religion, but a lot of people got church hurt and all of that. But what I do has nothing to do with religion. It's all about straight spirituality, who we are in God, and getting to a space where you know and believe that to be so and true. So now you're building that foundation on who you are, and that has nothing to do with what you have. That has nothing to do with where you could travel to. It has nothing to do with who you're associated with. And that's where that peace comes in. And so, yeah, that's something I'm really proud of. And I just praise God because I'm really good at it too. So that always feels good.
Oh, wow.
Always feels
Okay. So I know what you do.
good. Mhm.
What are the problems that you solve when it comes to being a spiritual mindset coach? What are some of the common things, that people come in and are stuck with that you commonly deal with and help them overcome, or issues, problems, whatever?
Huge one is self-hate. Self-hate and self-acceptance. A lot of
Mm,
a lot of people who have issues with materialism has to do with having to have things to validate them. So self-hate and the self-acceptance is probably number one. Number two would be people who have huge problems with their identity. A lot of people don't know who they are if they're not somebody's wife per se, if they're not somebody's husband
Mm,
per se. If you, a lot of people have their identity tied up in their title. When COVID hit, it was a huge influx of people connecting with me because a lot of people thought they knew who they were, but then when they lost that job, now they're not so sure. Now they're not confident in themselves anymore. So a lot of the work that the problems that I solve have to do with disconnects interpersonally, specifically with identity, first and foremost, and also to a lot of people feeling as though they're spiritual beings, but thinking that spirituality means religiosity, the whole church thing. So to answer your
right.
question, self-acceptance, God identity, and spiritual connection within this world are the top three that I deal with and help people to identify and solve problems within those realms.
Okay, okay. Those are some major issues too.
Yeah.
So when dealing with that, um, could you give us maybe like 3 tips on how to overcome some of these things, face these things, deal with these things? It doesn't matter how you know, which angle you come from, but just a few tips that could help some people out that are dealing with those issues that you're speaking of.
Absolutely. If you're someone, well, first of all, I call myself the reform queen of self-hate. So
Okay, okay.
let's be clear.
Okay.
These things I can speak of and can speak to and see within people because I know what it looks like because I was it. Pretty much everything that I mentioned, I was it at one point in time. And so, just to give a general answer that would be practically applicable to everything that we mentioned, I'll say first and foremost, this is what the enemy does not want you to do, and that is give yourself some grace. We tend to
Oh.
be so serious and so hard on
Mhm.
ourselves. And I'm going to say this to everyone within the sound of my voice and watching this video. There is nothing new under the sun. Nothing. Meaning that the best way for you to stay trapped in anything is to judge yourself and hide as though you're the only one. Your salvation comes when you're able to accept that that was an experience. That's not who I am as a person, and then when you're able to forgive yourself, then now you can come outside of that box and move forward. Because what we don't understand is when we start to talk about a lot of things that we're ashamed of or that we feel like we don't want to touch us, we start to realize that, oh, she went through that too. And he went through that too. And they went through that too. And people, it's a human condition. We could put a name on it. We can make it this is a Taralyn condition or a Janeah condition. But at the end of the day, it is a human condition and it's necessary for us to be refined and brought to the next level that God wants us to be in. So grace will be number one. The second one, once you have that grace and allow yourself to come out of hiding and actually talk about it. Number two, put yourself out there to connect to community. Now, a lot of people, I don't want people knowing my business and no, the thing it's not about people knowing your business. It's about once you change your energy from within. If you're a guarded, defensive person, you draw to you guarded, defensive people. We bring to us who we are. All right. And so when you give yourself that grace and allow yourself to be open, then now your energy changes. You start to draw to you who you have become. And those are people who have carried their sticks in their life and thrown them away. Somebody else will pick it up and it's a new stick to them. That's what a lot of us do. We want you to be able to throw your stick away and connect to people who can help to support you in moving to the next level of who you are. You don't have to be guarded and feel as though you're going to be attracting people who are going to use something against you, or they can only use it against you if you're hiding it. Once you put it out there and free yourself, now you open yourself up to draw to you the energy that you are and get that support. And before you know it, you end up in the space that those people were for you. You end up being that person who can support somebody else, and it just keeps on giving and giving and giving. So, grace, being open. Number three, please, oh, please, oh, please do not stay away from getting to know who you are in God because of what you learned in the past from toxic people. The word was not the problem. The flawed people are the problem, you know? And
No.
so getting to know who you are in God and God for yourself is critical. And I'm not saying just being around people where a bunch of people can say what they've heard. I'm saying loving yourself enough and trusting in the creator and how much he loves you enough to really sit with that book in your hand and read it for yourself with this newfound understanding that you're at in your life now. Forget about last year, forget about 6 months ago, forget about other people. Selfishly and unapologetically, be determined to create that spiritual space for yourself, because that's what's going to make anything that you get or that you acquire, even come across opportunities and things in the physical world. That's what's going to make those things sustainable. And then you be able to have true discernment that has to do with your connection to God and the Holy Spirit. Those types of things are what help to keep us safe and what help to keep us growing. So those would be my three things.
Okay, I love it. Oh, y'all, she dropped some gems on you. I hope you all pick them up. Don't leave those gems on the ground, okay? Pick them up and use them. Those were some good ones. All right. So wow, we covered a lot of good juice here. I'm loving it. Um, so I'm not even gonna say think, I know that you are and a successful, I was about to say and, but proper English would say a successful entrepreneur. Um, Now that you are an entrepreneur, you used to work in the corporate world, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So how has that transition been? Do you at this point, how are you feeling about this more free and kind of to say per se, because it's a lot more control over your life. You
Yeah.
can control the way you execute this. How do you feel now as an entrepreneur versus when you were working in corporate?
Imma tell you, I mean, in all honesty, I don't know that I've heard anyone else say this, not to say that they haven't, but for me, it made me realize how, indoctrinated and conditioned I was in terms of thinking inside of a box. You know,
Mm,
when I decided to take on entrepreneurship, I thought from watching other people that I knew what to expect. I knew what all of the intricacies were going to be, and I don't know what I thought, but I learned that I hadn't been thinking as deeply as I should have been. I'll say that. But it was hard for me when I started my business. Well, when I was just doing coaching, that was because that was only that one thing. But then when I started to do the ghostwriting professionally, and then when I got into the podcast and the different relationships with other radio stations and media, things like that. And once you have all of these arms reaching in all these different places, it's a lot. And I was so used to thinking inside of a box. And it took me a while to realize that, hey, you're not bound by anything. So because you're not bound by anything, if what it is that you're looking for to solve your problem you don't see, create it. What's stopping you? You know what I'm saying? So it was that under really understanding and embracing that the way in which I had seen business before from the outside, that was someone else's idea and I was just an employee in what they were doing. Well, now I get to create something that I have never seen before. And all that matters is that it works for me and what my
yes.
vision is and where God is sending me. And so, breaking out of that mold and not only tearing out of the box, but just completely and totally destroying that mofo is what helped for me to really be able to become comfortable and embrace educated risk taking and that type of thing. Understanding that um, this doesn't have to look like anything that I've seen before. In fact, because I'm an individual, it shouldn't look like anything I've seen before. I should embrace
Good.
that. If it's looking too much like something I've seen before, then I ain't doing it right because that means that I must be copying something. It's okay to be influenced by other things that I've seen
Right.
that's worked because that's smart. You don't have to reinvent the wheel on some things, but some things should be an original and organic creation of yours simply because this piece you figured out works for what you're doing, and you should embrace that. You shouldn't question that because there was a point in time where if something was too different, I can, oh, well, wait a minute. I don't know because I haven't seen it. And dude, there's only one Taralyn. You're not supposed to see that before. Girl, run that.
Okay.
Yeah, you better
Okay.
run that. So yeah, it's that that's the thing. I learned that I really have to learn to trust myself. And if worst case scenario, I fall flat on my face, then I need to get up with my skint chin and everything and take notes because it's something for me to learn so that I can rebuild from the space that I fell from. Because even when you fail, quote unquote,
Right.
there's always something to learn from it. Just don't
Yes.
fear that. Just don't
Yeah.
fear that. That is a part of the process, you know.
Oh man, that's some good stuff right there. Okay. Wow. So you started the entrepreneur journey off as a life coach, as a coach,
Yes,
as
I
a
started
spiritual mindset coach.
after I released my book. That's when people
Okay.
started coming to me because I'd done coaching before then, but it wasn't structured. Again, I'm doing things that I have a natural talent for, but not understanding that that's a business, that there's like a name for what I'm doing. So I had done coaching before then, but it wasn't professionally under a
Right.
business because I was just being me. I didn't know
Right.
that that was a thing. So then after I wrote my book and published The Ultimate Release, then I started having people come to me after reading the book. And then I have a section in the back of the book for like reflection and questions. That I didn't realize when I did that, I should have known that, was going to have people want to connect with the author and say, well, hey, I want to go deeper into this. And so then it went from being an author to me doing the coaching, and then the coaching kind of expanded at the same time. I had the publishing companies coming and saying, well, hey, we could really use your support on this. And so I went from just writing a book to all of a sudden I have this business with all of these moving, working, income bringing in parts. And I'm
Yeah.
just sitting up here like, what the freaking heck? I'm enjoying all of it because it's, you know, it's all easy for me. It's no big deal. But yeah, I had to learn really quick that if it's something I've never seen before and it works for me, then that's my stuff. That's what I need to be doing. And I need to jump all the way into it and claim it, own it, run it.
Man, when they say when it's for you, you gonna get it. When it's for
Yes.
you, it's for you. And that is the thing I tell people all the time who come to me and like, man, I want to do this and that. You went out there and just started your show and I want to do a podcast. I'm like, do it. But so many people are doing it, man. And I love it because everybody's podcast is different. It's not like we're all out here doing the same thing. So
Thank you.
everybody has their own twist to it. Now you might come across some people where the twist ain't twisted and you like, man, this is super boring. I don't want to, I'm not gonna listen to this, or I don't feel it. I don't connect with it. Well, that's why you got all these other ones to go to.
Right.
But start it, just whatever it is, because see, you were just moving off of a gift that you had, and then God said, "Okay, you're ready. You're ready." The Most High said, "You're ready." So let me
Yep.
go and just drop a couple more things up on you. You can handle it. You can handle it.
Yep.
Answer that phone call because I'm about to drop another one on you. But that's a beautiful thing because I've done a million things too, Queen. I've done so many
I
different things.
know.
And then when I started Boss Conversations, I never in life would have thought that all the things I did, I would be able to use in this, because there's so many things that I know about because I might have worked there or did this or did that. And it's a beautiful thing when God brings all your madness together and you start
Yes.
to understand it. That's what it is. When he brings all your madness together, because some of those things that you did, you might have been the fool in the situation. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so when you realize, and now that you still even benefiting from when you was the fool in the situation, and like, God, you look at you bringing all this stuff all together for me. Oh
Yes.
Lord, I'm gonna get it together now, God. I hear you. I know what you're saying, so I'm not gonna do that no more. But I'm gonna do what you want me to do and stop being so stubborn trying to do what I want to do. You know.
Yes.
Um, so it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I'm so glad that we have been able to tap into each other like this and
Yeah.
to get to know each other better. And you guys, I don't want to say too much about it, but when she spoke about, her ghostwriting, I can say that I am going through a process with the queen, and she is so official. Okay, because me myself, I've been wanting to write a book for ever. And
Mhm.
I just so happened to talk to her about it and not knowing even that she was a ghostwriter,
Mhm.
not knowing that she does this, but I was just telling her, like, like I've always wanted to write a book, but every time I try, I never know where to start. I never know like how to get the story going and to get to the end. The end first. None of that ever worked for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do have a problem sometimes paying attention to one thing for a long term. So I don't know if that plays a role in it. But the queen, I'm going through the process with her, and the way she brought everything gets a full circle for me. It was just the same way I talked about how God brings all your madness together. And I definitely appreciate it because when she put together my thoughts, when she put together what I wanted to put out there, it just brought so much to
Mhm.
me because I know I have a lot of talents. That's not one. And I have a lot. Okay, there's a lot of things I could do. That is not one. And when she sent me what, her finishing touch on this part of our project is, I cried because I was like, man, it's like she was able to see exactly what, I had been trying to do for years. But
Mhm.
also it wasn't the time for me to do it. You know what I'm saying? Now's the time
Yeah.
for me to do it. And that's why he brought you in the way you did and the way that all worked out. So no, she's official. Queen, where can the people find you? Your sign up, listen to you, all that good stuff. Drop all those gems for us.
Absolutely. I'm going to send everybody to, you can go to thegrinddefined.com. That is where my podcast is located. And right there on the navigation bar, you can link directly to taralynmichelle.com. That's where you have access to my coaching and ghostwriting. But every link that you want to get in touch with me for everything that I do, you can hit me from thegrinddefined.com.
Dope, dope, dope. Love it. One good location. So you guys, we'll have the link to those. My eyes have been watering. I shouldn't have gone outside.
I was about to say, 'tis the season, and I have to say this,
Allergies.
Janeah, real quick before you wrap up. I just love the way God reconnected us at this stage in our life, because having the opportunity to support you with your story, oh girl, I'm so excited for you, because it's time, man. It's time, and I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for everybody that you're going to feed with that story. I mean, I already knew you were dope. I mean, from back in the day when we used to do the activism, where I already knew you were dope.
Thank
But
you,
just
sis.
this, knowing you in this context and how you're able to simplify and make sense of so much that's complex, even to me, in a lot of ways. When we interviewed and I was talking to you, it's just such an amazing time for you. And I just applaud your courage, and I'm so excited. I just had to say
Thank
that.
you so much, Queen. I really appreciate it. I'm enjoying this journey. I don't have fear, but it is a little scary.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
want to make sure I don't have fear, but it is a little scary because I am jumping all up out of my comfort zone while being in my comfort zone. And I say that all the time. And
Yeah.
some people will get that and some people don't. If you don't, it's okay. I hope one day you do.
There you
But
go.
but yeah, because we have to jump out of our comfort zones in order to reach a certain level of success.
Yeah.
And in whichever way you define success, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Nobody has reached success in their comfort zone. So know that and know that those feelings you guys get when you don't know if you should do something, sometimes that's a good feeling. It's a good scary feeling, you know what I'm saying, but it's not fear. Don't take it as fear. Just, it's okay to be scared sometimes. It's okay to be a little scared, but never fear what's on the other side of that feeling, those butterflies. Don't fear what's on the other side. Walk through it and come get this greatness, because I everybody I interview is destined for greatness. That's why we here, because we having boss conversations, because
Yes.
y'all are bosses, okay?
Indeed, indeed.
This was definitely a conversation that matters. I want to hit you with two more questions and we're going to wrap this up because I
Yeah.
do want to get this from you. How do you define success?
Success for me has everything to do with what feels aligned within me. And the reason why I say that is because I'm a spiritual person. For a long time, what I saw or envisioned for myself is what I would chase. And I'm telling you, most of the time it didn't work out. And if it did, it was only temporary. But there was always something that said, not that way. But I didn't listen to it because I was blinded by what I thought I wanted. Success now for me is being intentional and aware, present when I see it. If it doesn't align and I don't feel it on the inside, then I know that that may be what I want, but that's not a part of God's journey for me. And I accept that and I respect that. So, success, I have to feel it. If I don't feel it, the moves that I'm making toward it, that's not going to be success for me.
Say if you don't get that warm feeling inside,
I have
then
to.
mm-mm.
And I mean, I know that for some people, oh, and I just thought about this because I know for some people, see me, I like to take the steps. If you're asking what my overall view of success is, my overall view of success, I would be is feeling peace and contentment no matter what, which is where I am. So I'm successful.
That's it. That's
So I'm
it.
successful. I just thought about that because me, I don't have like some people have like that one. Well, when I get this, I'm successful. Or when I get that, I'm successful. When I'm able to go here, I'm successful. It took me years. I have been hearing my whole entire life. My grandma, my mom, be content in the state you in. And I remember I used to be like, because I was just, I didn't even understand what the freaking heck is that? How am I gonna be content and my light bill due and I don't know how to pay it? And,
Okay.
it used to make me mad. But now I feel successful because things are not perfect, but no matter what's going wrong and what's going right, I still feel blessed. I still feel comfort. I still feel safety. I still feel joy. I still feel peace. And I didn't think that that was possible. I thought I had to have things look a certain way in my life to have that. So as long as I got this, I'm successful.
Mm, that's a good one. That's a good one. What are the qualities of a successful entrepreneur in your opinion?
Consistency, consistency and integrity. It is my word is my bond.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an extension of my character. If my word, if you can count on my word, then that automatically connects to trust. That
Right,
automatically,
right,
right? That automatically connects to integrity. When other people are reading you, if they can say, you know what, she's never said anything to me that she didn't come through on, and if she couldn't come through, I knew about it before the date she said. Those things matter,
yeah.
so it's so important to me to be consistent with people, and it's so important to me for my word to be my bond. And I think that's especially in business. I think that's so very important. If you say your event start at 7, then I don't want to see no CPT. I want to be there at 7 and we be ready to get it popping, not wait
Right,
and you don't show up to 10 o'clock.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think
Yeah.
that those two things with entrepreneurs are hugely important. When you see entrepreneurs that have those two things, then everything else just kind of flows with it. They're people who are timely because they care about people's time. They don't think that they're bigger than everybody, so I can tell you 8 o'clock and they show up at 10 and stuff like that. There's a care for people and what they're doing in service outside of themselves. And so I think that that makes for a successful entrepreneur.
That's good. That's good. I definitely agree with those two. Consistency, I think, is the number one thing that bosses have said collectively on here. And so I do agree. I do agree. And hearing a different boss, at least, I'm going to say at least three bosses a month, hearing at least three bosses a month say that helps keep me in line. You know what I'm saying? It helps keep me down with my consistency. Like, nope, get up. You got to do this, this, or that. So I think it's good. I love those are two questions I try to ask everybody because your answers they hold a lot of weight with the people who do tap in and watch all the time. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you so much for coming on my show. I really enjoyed this conversation. This was, girl, you got sound bites and nuggets galore up in here. So I love it. I love it. Is there any last gems or nuggets you want to drop before we leave?
I think the only thing that I want to say is, honey, I love being blinded by your light. You best not stop shining anytime soon. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate you. I'm so proud of what you're doing, and I'm looking
Thank
forward to Boss
you.
Studios one day, honey. I can't wait. I know I better be on the list of people you inviting.
Yes, yes, the grand opening is gonna be lit,
Yes.
okay? Lit. Oh, thank you so much, Queen. You are so fun. We always have a good conversation.
Yes.
So I know we will be doing it again. Continue to wear all those great boss hats the way you do, the great way you do. You make it look so easy and effortless. I know it's not, entrepreneurship never is.
Right.
So kudos to you for
Thank
doing
you.
it so well. And hold on, Queen. I'm gonna close the show out and then we can close out. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
All right, you guys. Another Boss Conversations with Janeah. I really enjoyed talking to that queen. You guys know we will be back again next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat place, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you guys, I have a good one coming up next week. So you guys make sure you tune in. All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
On track, now we gon' way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up, stay up. Counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up, way up, pray up. On track, now we gon' way up, way up. Now we gon' way up, now we going. On track, now we gon' way up, way up. Now we gon' way up, now we going. Keep the same energy.